Ramful.
Thank you, Mr. the Speaker, sir. Mr. the Speaker, sir, let me start by expressing my deepest condolences to those who have lost their dear ones during this pandemic. Mr. the Speaker, it is very unfortunate that the population is still recovering from the bruises of an unprecedented sanitary shock. They are now being affected by a second shock, which is the COVID-19 Miscellaneous Provisions Bill. Ce projet de loi est une pilule amère pour la population, Monsieur le Président, et surtout pour nos travailleurs. I've listened to the members on the government side, and they have made a call. They're asking us, the opposition, to vote with them on this bill. So let us see what are they exactly asking us to vote for. This bill, Mr. the Speaker, sir, will amend not less than 56 other legislations. And those amendments are going to give very wide-ranging powers to ministers of this government who are going a catimini in regulations, come with laws, come with regulations on crucial issues affecting the people's liberty, affecting the people's way of life, education, business, taxation, and not the least, rights and working conditions of our respected workers. This is what they're asking us to vote for. They dare to ask us to vote with them to suspend and curtail the rights of our respected workers to go on strike. They want us to vote with them to establish unwarranted state control over the foreign reserves which have been built up over the years by our forefathers. They want us to vote with them to remove all controls over a government which is in a massive spree of spending public funds, raising our debt to a record level. So this is what they want us to vote for. I should be a fool to accept their proposition. Now it is unfortunate, and I join my other colleagues, that we have just listed so many amendments, so many implications, and we are given only 20 minutes. We, opposition members, are supposed to be the bulwark of democracy. We are given only 20 minutes to debate per member, to debate on such an important bill. Unfortunately, given the constraint of time, I will have to limit my interventions, Mr. the Speaker, sir, to a few issues, in particular the amendments to the Education Act. And if time permits, maybe I'm going to talk about the amendments to the Bank of Mauritius Act and the Public Debt Management Act. But before I come to these issues, Mr. the Speaker, sir, I think the workers of this country deserve that I say a few words sur ce que ce gouvernement a réservé pour eux dans ce projet de loi. Since the start of the confinement, government has consistently been trying to instill fear in the minds of our workers that unless we come with strange amendments to the law, thousands of workers will lose their job. They just give figures off their head. 20 000 sawmill. But my question is this: has there so far been any groundwork done? Is there any credible report that has been presented before this House or to the population in each different sectors? How many job losses are we expecting? So they want us to vote, give them powers to fire people in mass, but they don't come with any credible report to sustain what they are saying. I personally believe, Mr. the Speaker, this is a mere sham. C'est une prétexte. C'est une prétexte because the real motive, and I'll come to the real motive of this government behind these amendments. And I think I have an idea. There is outside there, at the time we are debating, there is outside there, I put this question: who needs to fire workers urgently now, imminently? Which company needs to fire workers now? There is a company, Air Mauritius Limited, where two administrators have been appointed. There are time limits in the Insolvency Act. If the administrator does not take any decision in relation to the employees of the Air Mauritius, not only Air Mauritius, Airmate also, where thousands of our workers are working. If the administrator takes a decision, he shall be liable personally vis-à-vis the employees, unless he gets protection from the law. Unless he gets protection from the law, and this is what this amendment is all about, to facilitate the task of Mr. Satar Haji Abdullah to get rid of thousands of our employees in Air Mauritius and in Airmate. I have a second guess. And this is very dear to the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister. Le contrat d'affirmage, CWA. The report is ready. The recommendation of the World Bank is ready. Go for what he called affirmage. But for affirmage, you need a private partner. But for the private partner to come in, you need to clear the way. Get rid of the employees. This is all this amendment is about, Mr. the Speaker, sir. Let me come to the, I'm not going to be very long. Let me come to the Education Act. I've been listening to the Honorable Minister of Education with regards to the amendments of the Education Act. You know, Mr. the Speaker, sir, our teaching staff are our greatest public servants. They spend their lives educating our young people and shaping our nation for tomorrow. They deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. I will refer to, because the issue that has cropped up during the confinement is about the question of training. Teaching staff have been saying that, well, we are being asked to use a new mode of teaching, but we have not received any training. We are being asked to use our personal logistics. We have not been given logistics. There's a question of privacy. Let me refer, I was just reading the debates when the Public Debt Management Act was passed, but coincidentally, I came across the intervention of the Minister of Education, who was sitting in the opposition at that time. Look at her attitude. Look at her very commendable attitude. She said, this is why, Mr. Because they were talking about bringing a new way of budgeting. So she said, This is why, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I feel that we should have had a transitional period during which public officers and other cadres could get trained. Training is a very important aspect of any reform, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. We have to consider that unless the government ensures the commitment of public officers, it is true that reforms cannot bring about what we expect from them. The commitment of public officers is a sine qua non factor if we want to effect any change. Did we give enough time for capacity building? Combien de nos officiers ont-ils épousé les principes inhérents de cette approche? So this was the stand of the Honorable Minister of Education at the time when she was sitting in the opposition side. Now she has changed completely. She wants our teaching staff to get on the job without any training. The ministry has even taken disciplinary action against the head of the union of the secondary school during the confinement. But are they to be blamed? Who is to be blamed? Our teaching staff or the ministry? Who is to be blamed today if our children are sitting at home, not getting proper education? Who is to be blamed today if our children are not even aware when the exams are going to be taken? Who is to be blamed today if we don't know if the syllabus is going to be completed or not? Is it going to be the teaching staff? Is it going to be the head of the union of teachers? It is the ministry who is to be blamed. And I'm going to say why. The School Net 2 project. Does that ring a bell? Let me refer to the School Net 2 project. You know, Mr. the Speaker, sir, 5 years back, en 2015, le gouvernement and the current Minister of Education was she was Minister of Education at the time. They came up with a project, the School Net project. And you know what was the objective of that project? It was to install high-speed connectivity, internet facilities in all our secondary schools. They gave a contract to a private company. The contract value was 122 millions de roupies. They have even paid 81,7 millions roupies to the contractor. And you know what happened? Till now, the company has gone bankrupt. Till now, there is no connectivity in our secondary schools. No action has been entered against that contractor so far to recover that money back. Depuis 5 ans. And they are talking about blaming our teachers. The ministry has been taken to task under the audit report for that. Taken to task. I saw on the TV the other day, Cabinet now is going to buy combien? 2000 tablettes pour les enfants pauvres. Let me refer to the audit report. Let me refer to the audit report. Now they are going to purchase tablets. Supply and commissioning of 23,400 tablets for Form 4 students and educators. Contract value, 108 millions de roupies. Well, I won't go into the details. Consequently, due to delay in taking necessary actions against the defaulting contractor for breach of contract, 3 years later, advance payment of 21.7 million was already not recovered by the ministry, and so far we have not obtained any tablets. What happened to the what is it? E-education program or whatever? Nothing. Nothing. Management of e-education projects. This is what the Director of Audit says. There was no memorandum of understanding signed between the MOE and the...
Point of order, please.
On a point of order, Mr. Speaker, sir, I'd like the honourable member to state when this transaction was done, because he is talking about something and he is not stating when this contract was given.
So, maybe honourable member, for the benefit of the House.
Yes, I will. No,
for the
you
benefit
see,
of the House, say when the contract was out.
I always come with clean hands, Mr. Speaker, sir. The contract was signed on the 12th of June 2015. 2015. In the report, the Oxford to go and read the report of the Director of Audit. Yes. So now they are blaming the staff, the teaching staff, taking disciplinary action against the union leader. When they have to put order in their own house, they have to be disciplined themselves. Today, if our children are not getting the proper education, it is the ministry and only the ministry who has to be blamed for that. Now, Mr. the Speaker, sir, let me come to the economy very briefly because I'm not going to be very long. Well, as for the amendment to the BOM, etc. Well, as regards the amendments of the Bank of Mauritius Act and the debt ceiling, the Minister of Finance is trying to justify these amendments by putting everything on the back of coronavirus. As if he's saying that our economy has been infected and is now in the ICU, on ventilator, under artificial respiration. But he has to ask this question, how did we get there? Because of coronavirus? Huh? Our economy was already on the way to the ICU when it was struck by coronavirus. It was already on the way. You need not be an expert to go and check the economic indicators. Hein? Une dette valant 320 milliards de roupies. Hein? You look at the growth rate in all these sectors, tourism, etc. Hein? If you now recently we have been blacklisted on the EU list, hein? and then you are saying that because of coronavirus, our economy has gone in the ICU. Well, look at the again the audit report on public sector debt. This is what it says, Mr. the Speaker, sir. The government debt servicing under this government debt servicing represented more than 19% of total government expenditure in 2018-2019. The audit report talks about high dependence of government on borrowings to finance its expenditure. During the past 3 financial years, government was highly dependent on borrowing to finance its expenditure. Borrowing ranked second as a source of government revenue and represented some 20% of total revenue for the year ended 30 juin 2019. Now that they have this debt ceiling de 60% de GDP, what do? They can't move past that post. They don't even think about moving that post. They remove the post altogether. C'était 60%. They don't think about even increasing it. They remove that ceiling altogether. And they said that they need money. Well, there are provisions. The law as it stands now, the Banking Act, allows for the Minister of Finance to take money and go beyond that ceiling de 60%. But under a condition, he has to come with an economic plan, a report, and explain to the public. The report has to be made public. How he is going to redress the economy in a span of 3 years. This is his duty under the BOM. He can take under the Public Debt Management Act. He can go beyond that ceiling, but then he has a duty vis-à-vis the population to come and explain in a report how he's going to redress the economy. But you know what he's done? He's removed this safeguard as well, so that he can take how much money he wish, and he's not answerable to the people. So, as I've said, Mr. Speaker, sir, I won't be very long. These would be my remarks about this bill, but let me end with a quotation. Well, the government members should, I'm sure they know about this famous sentence of Abraham Lincoln, but it's good that we remind them of this in this context. And it goes as follows. You can fool some of the people all of the time, and all of the people some of the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.